In this latest video about what's new in Flutter 3, I'm going to talk about the stable support for Linux applications. In previous videos, I have already talked about the performance improvements in Flutter Web and for macOS applications, as well as the new features that Dart 2.17 brings. Stable support for Linux comes full circle to make Flutter one of the best cross-platform technologies out there. In terms of performance, the tests that I have done do not show a significant improvement, so I understand that what they have done is simply make Linux official as a stable development platform because of its maturity state, and the proof of that is that Canonical has used it as a tool to build some of its applications for Ubuntu. Speaking of Canonical, they are the ones who have contributed much of the Linux-oriented plugins that we can find in pub.dev. In this video I'm going to create a small application that will allow us to search for snap packages using the yaru visual style, which is Ubuntu's own style. For those who don't know what Snap is a package manager for Linux. It is created and maintained by Canonical, and although it is not the most popular package manager, it will serve us perfectly in this tutorial to see the interconnection that we can do from Flutter with the operating system. First of all, I'm going to create a new application and add the necessary dependencies, which are yaru and yaru icons for the visual style, snapd, which is the plugin to communicate with the native Snap client, provider to manage the state, and URL launcher, which will help us to open the page of each snap by clicking on it. I'm going to open the project in my IDE, and I'm going to start by creating the model class that will be used to manage the state. Now I'm going to create a main screen where we will have the change notifier provider and the consumer to be able to listen to the changes of the model class. If you want to learn how to manage state with provider, I leave you a link to a tutorial that I have in the description of this video. Now I'm going to modify main.dart as follows and run the application. You can see that the aspect is of a typical Material Flutter app. To solve it, we're going to wrap main screen with yaru theme. This will make all widgets below the yaru theme look like yaru. Now let's create the search function. First, I'm going to create an instance of snapd client that will be used to interact with the native client. By the way, this native client has to be installed for this plugin to work. Do not forget to close this client in the dispose method. Now I'm going to add the necessary variables to manage the state of the search. Let's create the search bar on the main screen. First, I'm going to create a text editing controller and a focus node to manage the field. Now I'm going to add a column with a container inside, which will contain a text editing controller that will allow us to write the search criteria. In case you want to see more in detail all the code of this tutorial, I leave the link to the GitHub project in the description of the video. I'm going to run the app so you can see how the search bar looks. Before we get into the actual package search, let's declare how we want it to work. We want the snap packages to be searched for when the user types text in the search bar. The search must be dynamic, so as the user types text, it has to change, and it has to be efficient. The problem with this scheme is that as soon as the user types text, a search request will be launched, which in turn will lead to a network request. In other words, if I write 10 characters in a row, the Snap client will make 10 requests in a row. This is far from efficient. Let's modify the search as follows. First, I'm going to add a delay value and create a timer instance. Then, I'm going to create a private method that will be called every time the user enters a character. This method will check if the delay value has passed since the last call and will execute the search. In case the user types too fast, the timer will be cancelled and restarted. In this way, the search will be executed when the user actually finishes typing the search criteria. In order to output the search results to the UI, I'm going to create this controller and this stream. It is important to close the controller in the dispose method. Now I'm going to do the snap search as follows. I'm going to stream the results. In case the search criteria is empty, I will transmit an empty array. I'm going to display the results in a list view. First, we have to obtain the emitted value with a stream builder. In case the list is empty, we return a container. If it is not empty, we create the list as follows. For this example, I'm going to display the title and summary of the snap, as well as its current version. I'm going to add a callback to OnTap so that if the user clicks on it, they can open the page of said snap package in their browser. I'm going to run the app to see if it works. As you can see, we can search for packages dynamically. We can modify the search criteria and the results are updated according to what we have entered. We can also open the file of each snap in our browser. In this video, I have taken a simple walkthrough of building a Linux application using Flutter. If you haven't seen it yet, I invite you to check out the other videos I've created about the improvements that have been applied to Flutter 3. You can find the complete source code of this tutorial in the video description. If you liked this video, please click on that like button and consider subscribing for more content related to Flutter, Linux and mobile development in general. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.